All right, let's see if this works. Let me know if this is up, guys. I don't know. We've had to alter some of the things here. All right, I'm waiting for a thumbs up from my brethren in the chat. As always, welcome to what is going to be, I guess, for the summertime Thursdays with Wendler, just because of the priorities with the football team this summer. So I will start answering questions here as soon as I get a thumbs up, and when we do, I will let you guys know. We just got back from vacation. We were in the mountains of Colorado, doing our thing with my family near the Vail, Beaver Creek area. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Let's see if this works. But again, give me a thumbs up. If not, then it's going to be a short stream today. Oh boy. All right, so it looks like there's nothing going on here. Oh boy. All right, there we go. All right. Thank you, Mailman James. Much appreciated, everyone. All right. As always, if you have a question, I know this we didn't get in until yesterday, so I wasn't able to do a lot of prep for this as far as getting some of the thumbnails up and whatever. So I apologize. This may be a short stream as always, or it's not as always. But all right, we're going to go ahead and get started. As always, if you have a question, ask in the chat to the side there. All right, here we go. My good friend Alex Aliff says he saw Dragged into Sunlight this week. Some of my buddies saw them too, Alex, when they're on this tour. Obviously, they were at Maryland Death Fest, but my good friend Joey saw them, said they put on a hell of a show. A lot of the reports from Maryland Death Fest probably very much like you. They did a great job. And Alex says, was disappointed to see that they were using so many Marshall cabs. Alex, Marshall cabs are fine. You can't really travel that far. You know, they're from England, I believe. But the most impressive thing I saw when I saw Dragged into Sunlight play live, I mean, this was 10 years ago, probably close to that, was I couldn't believe that they used Mattap amps, which is unbelievable in death metal. And they were able to pull it off. So, but he says, happy Father's Day, brother. Happy Father's Day to you also, Alex. I hope you have a great weekend too. Yeah. I don't know, I would assume that Dragged into Sunlight, if you have a chance to see them live, which is, they don't play live very much, go see them. It's an unbelievable show, unless you have unless you've got like epilepsy, because they got strobes. At least they used to have tons of strobes, tons of smoke. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if they still do this, everyone had their back to the stage. So they all kind of faced the drummer. Couldn't see him anyway. There's so much smoke and stuff. So anyway, all right. Mailman James says, what would be a good starting weight and distance for farmers carries for the boys? I'm not sure how young or old or whatever your kids are, Mailman James. There's two things I would use. I would generally start with whatever you have access to. For example, if you use your driveway, just use the front of your driveway to the back of your driveway or something like that. Or we use our sidewalk from X house to this house. So, but generally I would say to start with would probably be 30 to 40 yards, somewhere in there. Now his weight, I don't know. What I always did was we started when James was like, I'm trying to think, 8 years old. We started with just like 10-pound plates. We just hold 10-pound plate or 10-pound dumbbells or 15-pound dumbbells, stuff like that. Or you can use like an empties trap bar. That always works very well. Just use the high handles. Obviously, it makes things easier putting it down and picking it back up. So I would start with that. and then as the, just teach them what to do. When, like, I'll give an example is when we pick up the weight, we pick it up, we stand up first, and then we walk. We don't try to do it the same both at the same time. Just simple stuff like that, keeping a good back when you pick it up. And then when you put it down, you don't just fall down, you stop, keep your back strong and put it down correctly, stuff like that. So, yeah, probably, well, I guess you say 30 to 40 yards, and maybe depends on how the kids do, but usually 10, 30 to 40 yard carries, and then go from there. And you can always work up, but as always, Mailman James, start too light and progress slow. The first workout doesn't have to be a killer workout. Remember, you're just punching the clock, teaching the movement, teaching the exercise and the skill, and then you can start getting stronger. So we have generally worked up here with some of the, oh no, shoot. We're having some issues here. Man. Let me know, are we having some issues here with the, let's see what's going on here. Let me see what's going on. Oh, there's buffering issues here. Are we having buffering issues again? Let me know, guys. This is driving me bananas. Okay. All right, I'll keep on going here. I just got an update here. All right, here we go. Ivan says, good day, sir. Today is deadlift day, a heavy ass one. Pray for me. Yeah? Man, good luck. Dig in. Make sure, one of the things, I did some fat bar deadlifts the last, 8 weeks or something. And I was surprised at how quickly it came back to me. I haven't deadlifted in probably, God knows how long. But the one thing I really focused on was at the bottom, keeping my arms long and making sure, like, there's always little tips and tricks at how you feel about on the bottom position where you can, you want to keep the back strong, but I kind of let my arms hang. And make sure your hips are high enough, okay? That's the number one thing. Don't squat the weight up. You'll probably hit your shins or your knees on the way up. So just remember that. Get that good starting position and you'll be fine. Get your good starting position, lock it in, and then be aggressive. But if your bottom position stinks and your initial pull stinks, then your deadlift is gonna stink. So just remember that, and good luck, man. You don't need to be prayer. You need work. You need a great attitude. Jeff Mullis. Let's see here. I lost my thoughts on switching out the press and the bench for different variations. The traditional pressing movements have started to feel stale. Trying to be more creative too with my assistants. Jeff, I think that's a wonderful idea. Listen, you don't want to, let's say you're going to train for 40 years. That doesn't mean you just have to squat, bench, deadlift, and press. All right. That doesn't mean they can't be the stalwarts, overall, but I would definitely use, and I'll give you just some things that I like to do. Any kind of incline press, whether it's 60 or 45 or even just a slight incline would work. That's always been my worst lift by far. I probably should have done more of that. The other thing would be to do some kind of, I don't know if you have a McDonald bar and your shoulders are healthy, that would be good. Just changing your grip on the regular bench press might help, whether it's closer or a little bit wider. You can do like a single board press. I don't think you need to go much above 2. In the floor press, and I always thought the thing that worked best for me was the floor press. And if you have chains, to drape the chains halfway around the bar, you do that on the inside, then put the plates on. Because there's a tremendous amount of deload and reload on the way up, but obviously regular floor press would be great too. Bottoms up presses, honestly, I think they're fun to do. That's when you put the bar in the rack towards the bottom of your chest and press and come back down. So it's a concentric, really only a concentric movement. I thought they were good, but at the same time, I'll be honest, I don't think they helped me at all, but it kind of like was a strength tester. For me, it was not a strength builder at all. My best, honestly, I never forget this day. I had the original fat bar that we got from Donnie Thompson, and I pressed off my about off my chest. I have just enough room to wiggle under, and I pressed 470 for 3 off pins, and I'm probably one of the strongest benches I've ever had. If anyone's ever done dead stop presses, especially with a fat bar, which was a lot easier on my chest and my triceps and stuff like that. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I'd like to do. The other thing you could do, Jeff, is, and then Louis talks about a lot about this, is so instead of doing like your bench and your press, you do some dumbbell work for super high reps. I know you mentioned about being creative on your assistance too, but occasionally on max effort day, we would do super high volume, high rep dumbbell movements. So you might work up to, as an example, something for 10 to 15 reps, whatever that would be for you. And then you drop down and try to do 2 sets of 35 to 50. I think that's a great thing to do for assistance, but if you need a little break from the main lifts every once in a while, I think that's awesome. The other thing is we also did push-ups with a weight vest, or we drape chains over our shoulders, or you can also use a band. So any high rep typical assistance movement you could do too. And the other good thing about changing out your main lifts is you can start setting new records. And the other thing is, obviously, if you're smart, you start a little bit lighter, you start to get used to the movement, you develop the skill a little bit, and you're not so stressed out because one day, 2 years ago, you bench pressed 275 for 8 and you've never been able to recreate that. Well, this kind of takes the pressure off and makes you feel like you've got some room to grow. So anyway, but good luck, Jeff. And also, man, remember, you talk about your bench and press being, stale. And I think, if you want to change that stuff out, that's fine. Just remember, you're going to have to build some muscle, and that takes some time. So if you look at any of the old time great bench pressers, back in the day, so to speak, everyone looked like giant bodybuilders. So make sure you bodybuild the hell out of your upper body. Again, that's one thing I wish I would have done better, especially at a younger age. When I was in the teens and early 20s, I think my bench would have been a lot better than if I tried to just power lift my press and my bench. It was stupid. My bench only moved up, really. It really started making progress when I just bodybuild the hell out of everything. I know no one wants to hear that, but you're going to have to build some muscle and look like a dude. So, all right, Scott Graham says, hey, Jim. You recently commented on how a 30-year-old lifter would get stronger and faster. You recommended one main lift and full body assistance. You don't have to do that, full body. You can just do upper and lower assistance too. That's up to you. But what sets and reps for the assistance would be best? Well, we usually aim for total amount of reps instead of sets and reps. I think that gets a little limiting because then, for example, if I say 3 sets of 10, then you just stop at 10. And let's say you can get 20. Well, then you do 20. So generally what we do is we try to get between 50, usually 50 to 100 total reps of each assistance lift. And when I tell the kids is you should see Jesus at least once per assistance lift. So obviously it just means you push very, very hard on at least 1 or 2 sets of those things. The younger you are, as long as you have some experience with that assistance lift, and you've got like a year behind you, you can really push that assistance hard. If you're just learning how to do the lift and it feels a little awkward, just learn how to do it. I think that goes without saying. But I'm a big fan of pushing the assistance lifts beyond what you think is normal. And I see this happen with kids all the time. They'll pick up a 50-pound dumbbell. They'll do 10 body weight or 10 dumbbell squats. I'll tell them again, listen, next set, come get me. They come get me. We pick up the dumbbell. They get to 10 reps. I say, you got at least 15 more. And they look at me like I'm nuts. And guess what? They get to 25 reps and they couldn't believe it. So you have to learn how to push that assistance harder than what you think is possible. And really obviously a lot of people do this with the main lift, but they don't do it with assistance because on the paper it says 3 sets of 12. Well, screw that. We're going to do 3 sets. They're going to be as high rep as I can get it. It doesn't really matter if it's, it has to fall between 8 and 12 to build muscle. Man, if you can, dumbbell row the 150 for 35 reps per arm, your upper back and lats are going to look like you can row 150 for that many reps. All right, so don't just stop at what the reps would be. That's ridiculous. Push that assistance hard, especially on the easier stuff like triceps work and biceps work and like shoulder raises, man. Our kids have routinely done, full range plate raises for 50 to 100 or straight reps. Is it the best thing ever? Should you do it all the time? No, but you got to learn how to push past being uncomfortable and learn how to be, as they say, comfortable by being uncomfortable. So 50 to 100 reps of at least 3 assistance movements. Again, you don't have to do full body. I think you should alter between full body and like upper lower. That's fine. You can have a little fun with both. I don't think you need to stick with just one. Adam Jones, again, we talk about assistance. He says, when doing accessories to failure, is there a number of reps you cap? Nope, we do try to go as crazy as possible, because I think that opens up the brain a little bit, opens up your confidence quite a bit, especially with young kids. Like when we talked about the dumbbell squat, if they're usually doing sets of 10 to 15, and all of a sudden, we've done 50 for 50, and kids looked at me like I was nuts with the dumbbell squat. And we've actually had kids do, I think the current record is the 100-pound dumbbell squat for 65. I think we've had like 5 kids go over 60 or 4 kids go over 60. So I think it's very limiting to say, obviously sometimes you should. Not every set needs to be bananas, but I think you really need to start looking at the assistance as a way to build both mind and body. I think getting out of the idea that you need to do between 1 and 5 reps for strength and 8 to 12. I think a lot of the stuff that you've been taught and I've been taught and we've been read about, I think is very limiting. I really do. And there's a number of things, and I talked to my buddy Matt Rhodes about this, number of things that we've been taught through the world of strength and conditioning that they haven't held up to scrutiny when I actually train kids, like when I'm actually in the real world with real people. Matt and I have talked about, maybe why this phenomenon occurred, and I don't know. I have my theories. I'd have to probably sit down and mesh them out if I really wanted to talk about that. But it's just a lot of the stuff that I were taught and read about, and kind of I use too. It's like the truth of it doesn't. I don't think it matters. I really don't. My goal is to build the general physical preparedness of young athletes. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't need to follow like what an elite athlete's doing at all. We just need to put on muscle mass, make sure we're still very mobile and flexible, make sure our kids can jump and move, and we jump all the time. And make sure that we're getting stronger, and obviously faster in condition. That's all part of it. So I don't think you need to just pigeonhole everything based on what the science says or what the books say. I really don't. I think it starts really crapping on progress. And but that's just been my experience. Again, a lot of people can, poo-poo that, and that's fine. They don't have to train under me. It's not a big deal to me if someone wants to disagree with that. But I will tell you that the stuff that I've read over the years, I don't know if you have to stick to that all the time. Let's just say that. Jeff Mullis says Jeff Mullis asked, this was his second question. He talked about the switching out the press and bench press. He says the usual dips and dumbbell presses are feeling wonky, even across a variety of reparations and weights. Any recommendations? Thursdays have gotten better now. Well, obviously you can change up the movements. Then, one thing that we did, I'll give you an example of something we did with the dips, with Zach and others, is we do dips a couple different ways. Obviously we do them for time. So we got 10 minutes to do as many reps as possible. You can do this with any exercise. So it's not just dips, but we'll do this with dips. The other thing is we do one dip every 10 seconds. You got to hold at the top during that 10 seconds. You obviously do push-ups like that. You can do pull-ups like that, but with the pull-ups you hang down. You don't hold at the top. The other thing with dips is we will do 20 dips and 10 push-ups, rest, and then 19 and 9, and on the way down. What is it? I'm sorry. It's 10 push-ups and 20 push-ups and 10 dips. We switch those around. So you're just alternating between dips and push-ups, and then you rest a little bit, and then dips and push-ups and rest a little bit. So you're just kind of like, it's almost like a superset between 2 exercises that work basically the same muscles. Obviously, what's the other thing that we do? Obviously with the weight vest and stuff like that, I'm sure you've done that. We use a variety of different weights for that. But the big thing is trying to get X amount of reps in as short of a time as possible. So like Zach did 65-pound vest, and he did his, I can't remember how many push-ups we did, but I think it was like 100. We had to do 100 push-ups in the short amount of time as possible. We also did that with dips and push-ups with a 20-pound vest. You have to get X amount of, I think it was 100 pull-ups and 200 push-ups in the shortest time possible. With the dumbbell presses, we do something called a Widowmaker set. So we'll start at a 60-degree angle. We'll go to failure, bring the dumbbells down. We rest for about 15 to 30 seconds, put it on 45 degrees, do a set to failure, bring it down to flat. Again, you're rested about 15 to 30 seconds. The bench goes on flat, and you do another set to failure. Obviously, the second and third sets get a little tough, and that's one set. We might do 2 of those. Another thing that we did was we used the press. I think I've talked about this as an assistance exercise. So you work up to something between 10 and 15 reps. You rest a little bit, 15 to 30 seconds. You will do, what's the other exercise? I think we'll do steep dumbbell inclines to failure for whatever reps you choose, but generally 10 to 20 in there. And then we finish off with plate raises with the full range plate raise. So you raise the plate all the way over your head. You end up where your upper back is nice and strong at the top. And we'll do about 25 reps of that. That's one set. Again, we'll do 2 to 3 sets of that. So it goes press to steep incline to plate raise. So it's just a lot of shoulder work. You can alter any of those movements. You can start with the steep inclines, maybe do rear laterals for another set, super high reps, and then finish with plate raises or something like that, or upright rows. So you're just doing 3 exercises back to back and just kind of smoking it. But with that example, you start with something that's really like a big exercise and work your way down. So, but the key is to be as creative as possible. Like, one thing that I did a lot of, and I got this from a guy named Chris Taylor, who was a great bench presser back in the early 2000s for the tricep work. You would do a set of dumbbell extensions for as many reps as you can. I don't know what it was, 10 to 20. Immediately go over and do his 20 to 25 push downs. You do that 5 times, and your triceps will feel like they're absolutely bloated. The other thing, I'm trying to think how to do this. I would do dumbbell curls seated, right? And when you get to whatever your reps are, you go near failure, then you finish with dumbbell power cleans, seated dumbbell power cleans, one of the great exercises that we've introduced at London. So you're getting a lot of bicep work and a ton of upper back work. So you just kind of like floating exercises or doing different exercises, supersetting. So instead of just doing one set and hanging out, if that makes sense. So you're just doing stuff, getting a huge pump, and just doing a lot of variety, and just you can mess with anything like that you want. I love doing shit like that. I'm trying to think of anything else. Anyway, I'm kind of caught me off guard there. So I know I have a list of different stuff on the forum of assistance stuff, but the one thing I love doing with assistance work is I love just putting up dumb challenges. Another challenge that we did, we just, again, we talk about time. You try to get however many, it could vary from 30 to 100 reps in 10 minutes of the overhead press. And man, your shoulders get smoked. You can do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, stuff like that. So you just choose one weight and just go nuts. So, okay. Canada First says, I mentioned you in my personal statement for university. I got a good feeling about this. I don't know, man. God help you, right? Let's see what we got here. Okay, Brandon says, I'm planning on staying at current training max for another cycle or 2. Just wondering if it's advantageous to decrease training max for a cycle or just keep it the same. It could be. I mean, I've had to decrease training maxes for myself and for others because for whatever reason, your body just can't handle that the extra weight. So yeah, you can do that. The most important thing is you have to understand that we're training, we're not testing. And I think that needs to be understood. I know it was hard for me to understand that, not just with my own training, but with the kids' training. The most important thing is we get in the good work and we're working very hard. We don't have to smoke, and max out all the time. But yes, there is a time for that. It's just a matter of whether or not you're able to recover from it. And as an example, I've seen people who are like, listen, I did my third week and I was barely able to get my final set for 1 rep. I mean, yes, that's way too heavy. We have to back it off. And the other thing I think is super important is I'm not a big fan of planning or peaking. I think that keep your training maxes low, and when you feel good, add some weight and try to set another rep max at a higher weight. Go ahead and let it rip. Take advantage of the good days, guys. The longer you do this and the stronger that you get, the good days are going to be fewer and far between. All right, I'm sure some of you guys understand that. So what we do is we try to keep the training max what I call just nice and easy and normal, so to speak. So even if you're having a bad day, you can have a good solid training day. But those days that you feel good, man, let it rip. Just let it go. Work up. If you don't have to just do 1 rep, man, if you can work up, if your final set is like 215 and you just did 5 reps and it's flying, and you want to try 235 see how many reps you can get, go ahead and do it. The one thing we don't do is, though, if we don't do 2 of those weeks back to back, especially in a single lift. It's always smart to back off every other week at least. So let's see here. It's called deadlift for a reason, I guess. Yep. Adam Jones says cap reps at i.e. no more than 20 to increase rate. Listen, again, Adam, this is just my personal view. I think you should start pushing sets and reps farther than you think normal. You don't have to keep. Now, obviously, you're doing I remember Louis doing sets of 100. All right. Oh, it's going to make you weaker, man. For some people, they need to do that stuff. All right. Doesn't mean you do it for every single exercise, but for like some single joint stuff, I think it could really, really help. Ryan D says, Jim, week 4, asking for the new book. I hope you're doing well. We are doing awesome. Again, for those that weren't here for the beginning of the live stream, we just got back from the mountains of Colorado. My sister, my parents, my sister's kids, Mason, James, my wife and I were all in the Vail Beaver Creek area for a week or so, and we had a great time. So Canada First says, my favorite quote is, it's okay to be weak, but it's not okay to stay weak. We're going to make it, lads. Listen, I started thinking about this, and I'm going to screw this up, so I'm not going to talk about everything that led up to this. But the training is the refuge of the average, meaning the more talented you are, and I say this just from a point of view from being able to play football at University of Arizona, where I saw a lot of kids go off to, not a lot, but quite a few quite a few athletes go to the NFL. There is such a clear distinction between me and them. Even the kids that didn't make it, maybe they got a free agent or picked it or chosen in the later rounds, or even kids that just played for 3 or 4 years but didn't get drafted. There was a big difference between me and them. The only way for the average dude to bridge the gap is to train smarter and harder. That's it. All right. And so I'm not asking everyone to bench press 500 pounds, but if you can just get a little bit better, if you can only bench 85 pounds, man, you know how awesome it'd be if you could get to bench 155 or maybe squat 200 pounds. All right. You're not going to be setting the world on fire on Instagram, but you can always make a little progress on something. Now, let's say you can't squat. Okay. Like something, whatever. Like I can't squat anymore, but I choose to do the prowler and the stairs and stuff like that. So you find ways around it, find ways to make yourself a little bit strong. You can make yourself a little bit better. And stop comparing yourself to others. Listen, I think at a high level, I think that competition is super, super important. You're not going to get any better by just training by yourself or just, I see it all the time with the football team. You got kids that come in, they're a little intimidated, and then all of a sudden they see what is possible, and it's unbelievable what happens. But for like the average guy, man, all I'm asking is for a little bit more out of you. And stop comparing yourself to the greats. One of the things that I detest the most is when a guy who's 35 or 40 years old sees a young kid deadlift 900 pounds who's like, 18 years old or whatever lift, and they say, oh, it makes me want to quit. First of all, that's not me. All right. That's his great thing. That's his gift. That doesn't make what you're doing any less or any shittier than what he's doing. So yes, there's always going to be people that are better than you. So just try to make yourself a little bit better. And I've said this a million times, make the best version of you. Whatever that means, just make it a little bit better. All right, Patrick Baynert. Baynert. Says, I'm doing hard conditioning 3 days a week on my non-lifting days and easy conditioning 4 days a week lifting on his lifting days. I want to do hill sprints and prowler and hard conditioning. How would you program them? So what I generally do is, it depends on how long the hill sprints are. The ones that I did, I just started with, I believe, 8. And I worked until 8 became very easy and I didn't feel like it was screwing up my training, okay? The first couple times I started doing hill sprints, my lifting took a giant nosedive. So I don't know what those sets and reps, it depends. Like the hill, I think we used about 40 yards. But that's no way, it took me, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I didn't really go over that, mostly because I was not in very good shape. Once I got to the point that my body adapted, then I worked it myself up. And generally what I would do is I would always have a bare minimum. At that time, I think it became 10 hill sprints. And on a day that I felt good, I would push it to 15 or 20, but the goal was always the bare minimum for 10. That's just with the hill sprints. Again, it's going to be very hard to program hill sprints, but start with something you can handle. Again, your lifting might take a dump. Just understand that. It's going to take a dump. And then figure out a daily minimum until your body adapts, and then have another minimum when you work yourself up, and you'll be good to go. The only problem I had with hill sprints was my left Achilles would get super tight. Felt like it was going to explode. So be very careful with how you progress in that and the volume with the hill sprints. But that was just, I was older too. When I was younger, we used to do hill sprints all the time. I never had an issue. With the prowler, I would probably, again, start with about 10, 30 to 40 yard sprints. Again, this depends on what you have access to, but we usually do about 10 to 30 to 40 yard sprints, and I would start very light. And in the beginning, I would just rest as long as you need to recover from it, and then just have a general time of how, so let's say you do 10 40 yard sprints and it takes you 20 minutes. All right, so the first couple weeks, just say, listen, I like to finish these 10 sprints in 20 minutes or less. And you're going to do it. It's going to feel great. The key is not to absolutely smash yourself in the beginning. Once you get accustomed to it, try to work yourself up to doing one every minute, meaning you just keep a running clock. And I think that's about as much as you need to go. I don't know if you need to do much more than 20 minutes. So that would be a total of 20 every minute on the minute. The weight, you have to understand that the weight's going to be variable day to day. It happens all the time when I push the prowler. As an example, I've done 3 plates per side for 10 40-yard sprints, and I finished that in less than 10 minutes. Rhodes and I went and pushed the prowler one day. A 45 and a 25 on each side could barely move. So it's going to be very difficult to program the prowler. And it's the exact same area we pushed in. I mean, barely moved. It was really sticky. I don't know. I mean, there's a million reasons why, called the drag coefficient. So I would always keep the hill sprints and the prowler stuff. If you're going to do them for sprinting, keep it short. No more than 20 minutes. I don't think you need much more than that, unless you're going to go to like selection or something like that, where you need to really start pushing the boundaries. But I think once you start getting a little too much into the hard conditioning, your lifting is going to take a dive. And that doesn't mean just lower body, that'll be upper body too. So there you go. Tim, and I'm not, Gutkunst. Oh boy, I can see that being I'm not going to pronounce your last name, Tim. Says, good morning, Jim. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate that, Tim. I'm sick as a dog with some kind of virus. Woo. There is no way I can inhale 200 grams of protein today. What do you do in these situations? I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I was more sick than I've ever been. I didn't have COVID. I just got really sick. I slept, and this is not a joke, about 20 hours a day for a week. I ate one meal a day, and I barely choked down. I think I just ate whatever I could. And I think at the time, I just wanted some maple and brown sugar oatmeal. That's the only thing that I felt like I could stomach. And I know it's not the healthiest. I lost... I went from 230 to 195 in a week. I couldn't believe how much weight and strength and conditioning I lost. But I don't know if you're there yet, Tim. The most important thing is I try to avoid sugar at all costs. You try to eat some kind of any protein that you think you can stomach. That might be a protein drink. That might be like chicken. That might be steak or eggs. I don't know what it is. Just make sure you're hydrating. I always, because when I was up there, I was also sweating, so I made sure I drank some electrolytes. We just use Element, I think it's called. Just put it in the water. But the key is just avoid sugar. I always took what do you call that? Like a fish oil, a high quality fish oil tab, and any other supplements, maybe like some creatine or something. But again, avoid sugar. Make sure you're sleeping, and just eat whatever protein you think you can. Don't worry that it's not 200 grams. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, guys. You got to let your body recover. And a lot of times I think starving your way probably helps quite a bit too. Not all the time, but I think it does. D. Schoon says, I'm in week 3, day 3 of the prep and fat loss training from 531 Forever. It's definitely one of the best 3-5-1 methods I've done. Thank you. That's awesome. Oh, I love doing that stuff, especially if I'm training someone personally. You can really start doing some fun shit. Off topic, says D. Scooter, are you a Motorhead fan? I'm more of a Lemmy fan. Motorhead is very unique sound. It just, everyone knows what a Motorhead song sounds like, much like AC/DC, right? You definitely know whenever Motorhead releases an album, it's going to sound like Motorhead. I'm not a huge fan, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Lemmy and his perseverance and his dedication to his craft. I really do. And plus, man, he still played loud. I loved it. Ellen Arahu says, hey, Jim, I'm running 531 anchor. Can I use the performance on my plus test to evaluate or adjust my training max? Or should I still include a 7th week protocol? Hold on, I just lost it, buddy. I'm sorry. 7th week protocol training max test as well. So yes, you can just use that final week to test and evaluate, 100%. However, I'm going to tell you that if, as an example, you get 15 reps, I'm just throwing this number out here, on that final set, don't jump up your training max any more than you usually do. I'm telling you, it's actually ignorant to do that. And I'll tell you why, is because we know that using this X training max can get you much stronger. Jumping up to a higher training max is not going to necessarily make you any stronger. So just keep the same basic, 5 to 10 pounds, no more than that when you adjust your training max, if you can go up. So the answer to your question is yes. You can use the performance on the plus sets to evaluate or adjust. Yes. Howdy, boss. Thank you very much. Again, I'm still waiting for one of my kids to call me boss. He says, I'm still working back from ruptured quad tendon and body weight is an issue. Should I add more protein and cut down carbs? Also sled work or strongman for cardio? Suggestions, BJK. Yeah, like if my goal, again, you have to, I'm much like everyone else. If my goal is to lose weight, that's going to be my goal, or lose body fat, I should say, right? So I'm not going to get caught up in trying to lose that body weight and increase my squat or whatever. If my goal is to lose body fat percentage, I'm going to do what I need to do to lose that, and whatever happens outside of that, I'm going to have to accept. I am not talented enough to do everything all at once. Some people are. I see it all the time at the high level. That is not me. I wish someone would have told me to stop trying to think like that. All right, so that's number one. So if my body weight was an issue, the one thing I would do is I would severely limit my carbs. And I know people, Vincent DeCenzo, for example, is able to eat carbs and do that. I just don't want to have to calculate anything. It's much easier for me just to eat general protein and then have some fruits and vegetables or something like that. But try to eliminate any usual carbs, rice, pasta, bread, shit like that. So apples and stuff like that I think are fine, fruits and vegetables. So that would be the number one thing I would do as far as body weight if my goal again was to lose that. So that's just me. Doesn't mean you have to do it like that. Sled work or strongman for cardio. I think walking and riding the airdyne bike are by far the best things for cardio, especially if you have access to a treadmill. That way you can monitor your heart rate and keep it around that zone 1, zone 2 area, and then base your performance and time and stuff on that. I think that's way better than sled work or strongman. For me, as much as I love doing the prowler, you're always going to get a conditioning thing for the sled and prowler, but that is strength work first, or hypertrophy work in the case of pushing or pulling the sled for long distances. But I still think you need to do a dedicated conditioning cardio day, and that would just be like again, the bike and the walking treadmill, or you can obviously walk around the area and stuff like that. So Adam Jones says, how do you do dumbbell cleans? I think you just mean regular dumbbell cleans, not the seated dumbbell cleans, right? There's a big difference. So we just pick up the dumbbells, we stand straight up, push the butt back a little bit, bend the knees, go down about, halfway. Each kid's going to be a little different. And then we violently jump in the air, right? Punch the hips and then hold it right here. Take a breath, bring it down, reset, and do the same thing. So it's a very violent jump action. Once you squat down, you're not going to squat. Your legs are going to bend. Thanks, James. My bad. You're obviously going to push the hips back like a normal clean. But yeah, so we don't do the dumbbell cleans from the floor, obviously. It's just too far down. So I'm a huge fan of the dumbbell clean as long as you choose the right weight. If you start kind of doing this to get the weight up, then the weight is too heavy. Generally speaking, when I coach the kids to do dumbbell cleans, as soon as you tell them to be super aggressive and jump in that phase, the exercise completely changes and they learn how to be aggressive. So that's how we do them. JBJ says, hey Jim, I'm feeling a little bit beat up from 5 through 1. I'm age 59. Should I cut back on load volume or do walrus for a couple weeks? I would probably, I don't know how many days a week you're lifting, so it's hard for me to say that, but I would always recommend just try no more than 3 days a week, right? I would cap your top sets, and that might be different for each lift, but we generally cap the squat and deadlift at 15. Bench press, I don't really care. We don't really cap that because we train that a little bit heavier, so that naturally caps it. We make sure the reps are really good. The depth is good. As soon as that bar starts to get, especially in the squat or the trap bar, if your back starts to round, we cut the set off. Every rep's not going to be super explosive, but you should try to be super explosive. But as soon as the form starts getting wonky, if you can't correct it on the next couple reps, then you got to cut the set back. We see that with the deadlift. As soon as the back starts to round and things are getting wonky, the set ends. We'll live to fight another week. And I also don't know what you're doing for assistance work, but I generally recommend 2 to 4 exercises for assistance. But we'll just say that's your new goal, okay? But let's say right now you want to cut back a little bit and let your body recover. Just don't do any of the main lifts and just do your 2 to 4 assistance exercises and do that for a week. Don't have to smoke yourself, but just get some movement in. Make sure you get your zone 2 cardio in on the off days, and make sure you're doing whatever kind of movement or mobility or flexibility work. Do that every day. It doesn't have to take more than 10 minutes. All right. Obviously, sleeping and eating needs to come into play too. So those are the things I would recommend. Again, just a week, maybe 2 of just assistance work. Make sure you're moving on the off days. Again, getting the heart rate doesn't have to be like 1,000,000 beats a minute or anything like that. Just good zone 2 cardio. Make sure you're sleeping and then come back at it. Again, 1 main lift, 2 to 4 assistance lifts. Make sure you cut back on the cut the set when you can't correct your form. That doesn't mean every rep's going to be perfect. But if you're 9th rep on the squat and you start to cut it, your back starts moving forward, if you can't correct it on the 10th rep, the set is done. All right, let's see. Have you seen, this is cheap R1, have you seen the ballistic training Chinese weightlifters do? Like, Liu Zhan, can I do some of these principles for FSL, SSL, and assistance work? I don't know what ballistic training, Chinese training is, but if you can fit it in, go ahead and do it. I'm not sure what it is. Whether or not it's appropriate for you, I don't know. But there's no reason why, if you see something and you want to give it a shot, the best time to do it is with your FSL work or for assistance work. Lorenzo Platarucci. Boy, Lorenzo, are you Italian? Two of the same consonants followed by a vowel. You know you're Italian. My high school coaches was the Benedettos. Frank Benedetto was my freshman coach and my varsity coach. Was his brother Rick. Great coaches. Loved them. Anyway, he always told me, listen, if you got two consonants of the same consonant and a vowel, you know they're Italian, Jimmy. He says, thanks for sharing this and the book, +1 on a book about your life of coaching. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you, though, Lorenzo. Jordan Feenstra says, hey, boss. Keep it down, ding dong.
That wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
Dude.
All right. He says, first time catching this live. I love the Q&As. Wondering if you ever messed with some natural stone lifting. Every once in a while I see a smooth enough stone and I can't help myself. I do not. That would be something I would have done years ago. I am a mess of problems right now, and it would not be good for me. So, but yeah, I could definitely see how it would be fun to do stupid shit like that. Just be careful. Right now, there's no way I'm doing anything. Cheap R1 says, Chris McAllister. I'm not sure what that is in reference to, but yes, I was on the same team as him, but not in the same league remotely. Unbelievable athlete and football player. Lorenzo says, hey, I'm 42 years old, doing 5-3-1 with great results with boring but big, plus 3 exercises, push, pull, and low. I added 3 more, 1 each. I'll take them to 50. When is too much, or should I just go by feeling? Yeah, you can do that, Lorenzo. I don't know how long you'll be able to maintain that, I'll be honest, because, again, that would be, I would not have our kids do that. But I'm also playing very much the long game with our kids. I always look at like a four-year saying, so I don't feel like, or 4-year program. So I don't feel like I have to do like banana stuff. That doesn't mean we can't do it occasionally, but we always pay the price when we do that, usually the next 1 or 2 workouts. So just understand that when you start doing too much, the next workout is going to be the one that's going to kick you in the ass. So just, again, I would go by feeling. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but just understand that at some point it's going to kick you in the ass, and you just got to be ready for that. So, heavyweight says beard game is on. 1,000 Big Jim. Oh, my beard is nasty. We were in the water a lot this week, and boy, this thing was just nasty. I almost felt like trimming the hell out of it. So, but when I got home, I got lazy. So maybe I will this summer a little bit. Oh, it just gets so much food in there. Don't eat like anything with like ranch dressing, because it just looks like you're a man in a glory hole. Anyway, all right. Matt Holder says, my 17-year-old son has bought into eating as much as he can to add weight this summer for his senior year. I train in the morning and cook us both steak and eggs for breakfast. I'll let you know how it goes. Matt, just remember, you have to eat. You want to add quality weight. Don't add in so much weight that you lose your conditioning and lose your mobility and stuff like that. So I think it's super important that you maintain super high levels of conditioning. I assume it's for football. So I'd rather have a kid weigh 205 and be able to run all over the field, even if he's a lineman, than weigh 225 and just have a very small gas tank. So you'll always be better off being leaner, meaner, than you will be, 20 pounds heavier Your bench might be better. You might feel a little bigger, but if you have a low gas tank, it's bad news, man. So that's just my opinion. But good luck, man. It looks like you're eating correctly, or at least trying to eat correctly, and I think that's the number one thing. But the other thing is, Matt, and I explained this in my video, the biggest mistake I ever made was trying to take what I would consider an average athlete, myself, and trying to compare myself height and weight and performance to an elite athlete. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. I should have just been the best version of Jim Wendler, and if that means I weigh 205 or 215 or 210, great. That doesn't mean I need to weigh 255. I'm not Lorenzo Neal. I don't have that body to hold that kind of weight, so just remember that. Brandon says, I'm celebrating my 12-month anniversary doing 5-3-1. I couldn't be any happier. Well, thank you, Brandon. Congratulations. Happy anniversary. I'm currently at my 1 RM for reps on all 4 lifts, if that makes sense. It does. Good program consistency works. Yes, it does. Ivan Bunchek says, what's zone 1 and zone 2 heart rate? That's going to be dependent on your age. You can just figure out there's formulas all over the internet. Just type in zone 1 or zone 2 heart rate based on your age. Just super simple calculation. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. So yeah, you just do a quick Google search. And again, always start. You'll see what and I've told this story before. I was over on the treadmill at the local gym one day, and I did zone 2 conditioning. I said, I'm going to do this for I don't know, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. Just kind of farting around. Towards the second and third week, I couldn't believe how much harder I had to work to get into that zone 2 because I was just getting in better shape. It's unbelievable what happens when you do things right, especially with that. Heavyweight says, hey, Jim, I have plantar issues in my right foot. Oh, that's tough times. It prevented me from going into private contract work. Oh, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry. I need to get my air up tremendously. I haven't ran in 3 months. Do you have any really good workouts? Yeah, Heavyweight, you got it. I'm telling you, I just talked about this. Get on. If you can, I would assume since you got plantar fasciitis, I'd get on a bike. And I would try to do, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if you can do this, 2 sessions of zone 2 a day, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and then maybe 2 45 minutes a day. And I think once you get that done, maybe 4 weeks, you'd be surprised at how good condition you are. Now, listen, you're still going to have to run it eventually. And one conditioning only helps a little bit towards, how do I put this? If you get in good shape riding the bike, you're going to be okay for running, but your body still needs to develop that running ability because there's different muscles used, all right? So just understand that, but I would ride the bike. I would do 2 zone 2 workouts a day, at least for the first 4 weeks. I'd start for 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what kind of condition you're in, and then I would work up to 2 45 minutes a day. And you might be able to extend some of those, but I'm telling you, that's the number one thing I would do. It's super boring to do. I get it. So yeah, I would use an Airdyne. It's much easier to push and adjust than a regular bike. Lorenzo says, I'm 100% Italian, living in Taiwan. All right. Alessandro says, hello, Jim. Can you explain briefly how you structure the training for your kids? You just do the PR sets, no supplemental and straight to assistance. How many movements they do every day? Thanks. Yeah, we don't always do a PR set. We usually cap it. Not every day we do a PR set, so it just adjusts if the kids are kind of down in the dumps or whatever. We got something coming up, we need to adjust. So everything, but we usually cap sets depending on the day. What that cap is will again depend on what we got going on. On our squat day and our deadlift day, which is Mondays and Fridays, so we squat on Monday, deadlift on Fridays, we will do all of our assistance work. Our assistance is generally upper body push, upper body pull. That's usually 10 to 15 minutes. You choose whatever upper body pull, upper body push that you want to do. Reps are between 10 and a million. for each set. Just depends on what the kids are doing and how they want to push, what weights they choose. Doesn't mean you have to always do sets at 10 to 12. I know we already talked about this. So then after we do our assistance, we go into the squat or the deadlift. I have found that that works much better, getting the kids warmed up, especially if you're training in the morning. But we also did that throughout the year when they trained in the afternoon. So that's... and then on Wednesdays, we bench press. We usually do the bench press first because the kids can't wait to bench press, and I'm totally okay with that. For our assistance, we use some kind of lower body assistance and some kind of upper body pull. So we're doing some kind of upper body pull every single day. What that is for you, I don't know what you have access to, what you want to do. So that again is 10 to 15 minutes. Lower body work can be dumbbell cleans, devil's press, snatches, dumbbell snatches, dumbbell squats, lunges, box jumps. And then obviously the pulls can be whatever you want. We start each workout when the kids walk in. They have their warm up to do. They do this on their own. We do 10-pound flies on the incline, 10-pound rear laterals on the incline bench. We do pull-ups, a ton of pull-ups, and any ab work that you want to do. So that's usually a 10-minute block. The kids can come in earlier if they want. They can get more reps in. The goal is to get as many reps as possible in each one of those movements. So usually the kids will do ab wheel, chin-ups and pull-ups, different grips, flies with 10-pound plates, and then rear laterals on the incline with 10-pound plates. And we also do generally some kind of jumping every day. Whether it's long jumping or box jumping or some kind of bounding. So that's how we do it. So we generally do no less than 3 exercises per day, not counting the warm-up stuff. That's just on their own. Sometimes, again, with the assistance, we will do always 2 non-negotiable assistance lifts, and then the kids are free to do anything else they want as long as it falls into that structure. So there you go. Super easy to do, man. Again, guys, you have to understand that training large groups is much different than training someone one-on-one or just 5 or 10 kids. It takes much longer to train 60 kids doing the same stuff as training one-on-one. I had a kid we came in here, we trained together. He did our general workout that we do, and he did it in like 28 minutes because we were on a timer and we pushed sets, and I was able to adjust stuff. So just understand that training a large group requires a lot more time. There's just more kids, there's more chaos, there's time to set up and break down and all that other stuff. So especially if they're young kids, they don't actually know everything that's going on. So, okay. Steven says, hey Jim, I am building a home gym. Awesome. Very good, Steven. I have space for 1 dumb leg exercise machine. If you had a choice between a belt squat, leverage squat, or a leg press, which option would you choose? All right. Leg press would be the last option by far. I think the leg press is an awesome exercise, but my back would get smoked. And I never really used the leg press even when I was healthy, which just didn't really have access and didn't really care about it. So I would say if it was me now, I would choose the belt squat. If it was me 20 years ago, I would probably do the leverage squat. That's the best answer I can give you. I think what you mean by the leverage squat, I think I know what you're talking about. It's just like a squat machine, right? Got the pads here, very much like the power squat or a bear squat machine. So that's what I would probably choose, 20 years ago or 30, 40 years ago. Well, not 40 years ago. But yeah, I think the belt squat is awesome. I think you can do a lot of shit on the belt squat. You can do like rows, you can do straight leg deadlifts, RDLs. You can do the marching stuff, which absolutely smokes you. And obviously belt squats and stuff like that. But there's something about a leverage squat machine with the pad there. I mean, you could do shrugs on there, but the big thing is the power squat machine for me was one of the best leg builders and squat builders I ever used. I just don't know if it's appropriate for you, Steve. So I don't know. I'm not trying to wiffle waffle on this shit, on this question a little bit. But leg press would probably be the last thing I would choose personally. Here we go. It says, hey, Jum. Are there any situations when you recommend your athletes to do sumo deadlift instead of conventional deadlift? The answer to that is no, because we use the trap bar. The only reason I would do that is if for whatever reason they couldn't conventional deadlifts, they would do a modified sumo. I would not have the kids go all the way out or anything dumb like that. That's for powerlifting. We're trying to build general physical preparedness. So yeah, if for whatever reason we had to conventional deadlift and the kids couldn't maintain a good back position, then I would recommend the sumo deadlift, or we would pull from pins or blocks or something like that if for whatever reason they had to. Gunnar says, hey, Jim. Hey, Gunnar. Heavyweight says, thank you, Jim. Will do. Just use heavyweight. I'm telling you, use the Airdyne and just abuse that thing. The other thing is, I don't know if this is appropriate for you, but I changed out my seat on my Airdyne. Let me see if I have a piece of, I'll use this. This is what I'll show you my old seat, if I can find a pen. Hey, James, can you grab me a pen, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give you I just took all my pens with me on the trip that I had out here. I got myself a little notebook for my travels today. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So this was the old seat, heavyweight. Ready? Looks like a normal seat. Looks like a dong and balls, right? My new seat looks like this. Just got the butt part, so there's no dong. So you got to get rid of your dong. All right. So what ended up happening was it was just my chode was just getting severely calloused. It hurt. As soon as I changed the seat on my Airdyne, I went from being able to maybe tolerate 20 minutes before my D's and B's were numb to now being able to ride for an hour and a half, 2 hours if I had to. I didn't have to do it. But anyway, super difference in my conditioning. And if you're going to be riding it that much longer, heavyweight, then I would probably recommend that if you also have that issue. So Jim Roby says, hey, Jim, any thoughts on using walrus training as my deload? There's nothing says you can't do that. I think that might be a good objective for you. Just understand, Jim, that as someone who obviously switched to that style of training, I was not ready for it, especially. So just be wary of the volume. It doesn't mean you can't push, but man, there was a big difference between squatting with the barbell for, sets of 5, sets of 10 and doing, 200 bodyweight squats. So I remember this was a long time ago. This was probably 2008 or so. One day in the morning, I got up before I went to work at Elite FTS. And I decided I was going to do 500 bodyweight squats and 250 push-ups. I just wanted to see how it felt. I remember because I used my son Mason's sidewalk chalk. That's how I kept track of all the stuff. I was sore. No, I'm not asking you to do that, Jim, but I was so fucking sore for so long, and I realized what a difference that style of training is. And just for reference, all those years of trying to be explosive and all that stuff, I still stink at walrus training. So just be smart with it, have some fun with it, just be ready. It might kick your ass. Boss Man says, hey, any opinions on BP 157 for healing or peptides for muscle? I have never used any peptides. I went old school back in the day, so I don't know enough about that. Never really heard of anything. Kind of out of the loop, so. Yeah, so I'm sorry, man. Not much experience, actually zero experience. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. With the trap bar, is it okay to do some weightlifting variations? I mainly mean like trap bar clean pulls and high pulls. I'm not sure you can do clean pulls, right? Because the handles are here, but we do, as part of our warm-up, we do some trap bar high pulls. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't do that. And the other thing we do with the trap bar as part of our assistance work, we'll just do what I call like a upright row. You just bring your elbows as high as possible. It's not done like a high pull, like a clean or anything, but yes, you can do it like that. Now, especially as you work up, as you start to, you start with 135, you can just do a couple regular deadlifts and then do sets of high pulls all the way up into your first working set, sets of 3 to 5. So, Papayama says, hey Jim, what are some good exercises I can do to maintain upper body strength while working through elbow tendonitis? Should I stick with lower body exercises until it heals completely? All right, so here's the thing, Papayama. I don't know what you can and can't do. That's part of my injury protocol. I did a whole video on this. You have to train what is trainable, and you're going to have to figure that out. So as an example, we've had many kids during the season get their shoulders a little banged up. They can't bench press, but magically they can do push-ups. Don't know why, don't really care, but they can do it. Or they can overhead press, but can't do the bench press. So you're going to have to play around. It might be a machine. Maybe you might be able to do some kind of like row machine, but another row machine might stink. Maybe your grip will differ. So I don't know what you can do. That's going to be up to you. The other thing is if those exercises anyway irritate it, don't do them. Just go lower body. Make sure the other days, man, either make them into some dumb conditioning shit, or you can do like a ton of abs and low back work. So you're just kind of replacing it with some other focus, so that way it keeps you on a schedule. But until then, I would be very wary with the elbow tendonitis. I've had it before. It stinks. The only thing that helped me, I stopped barbell squatting. That really killed it. I just used the safety squat bar. You can use a belt squat or any kind of leg machine. So give it a shot. But again, I don't know what exercises you can and can't do. You're going to have to figure that out. And if you can do them and it doesn't irritate it, just bomb them. And whatever that might mean to you. Heavyweight says, I thought about not using this seat, Jim. I think that's a horrible idea. I don't know if you're talking about the post going up your fanny, but no, that's going to be a horrible idea. You're doing zone 1, zone 2 conditioning. You don't need to be standing up. Colin says, how to increase vertical jump? Need to gain 4 inches. I have no idea. As Tommy Milo said, how to increase vertical jump, get new parents. I am not in the game to increase your 40 time or anything like that. I'm here to increase your just general physical preparedness. That's way out of my league of what to do. So Joe DeFranco, from my estimation, would probably be the best guy to ask. But that's, we don't test. Let's just put it that way. I don't care about that stuff. We do the things right all the time. Things will naturally get better. So I apologize, just not what my specialty is, and nothing I would ever test on. We don't test on 40s or anything like that. So, and magically we win games like that. It's like, God, what was his name? Don James, the great coach from UW, University of Washington, back in the day, once said he was asked about 40 times, and he says he doesn't do it. And they asked him why. He goes, well, I still got to play with these kids. Who cares what their 40 time was? And the reporter probably felt like an idiot, which is good for me. All right, here we go. Frank says, hey, Jim, what assistance exercises would you deem mandatory when they accompany main lifts and walrus training? I guess it depends on, I don't know if I'd really consider anything mandatory when they accompany main lifts and walrus training. I always think, at the very least, something for your abs and low back, whatever that would be for you. Some kind of, I think pull-ups would be mandatory as long as you're healthy and can do them. I think they're a great indicator exercise, as well as push-ups and dips. I can't do dips anymore, but I can do push-ups. I think it's important that you get it on and off the ground like that. But I don't know if there's really anything. James, can you turn that down a little bit, buddy? I don't know if there's anything that's mandatory, because, as an example, when we do a walrus work, Frank, I'll just give you this. It's important you get some kind of lower body exercise, whether that's just squats with the vest on or pushing a prowler. I don't think it's the most important thing is you're going out and doing something for your lower body. Same thing with the upper body push, upper body pull. If, for example, you don't have dip bars and I say dips, well, then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Man, if you can dumbbell press or something as part of your assistance, or do push-ups or overhead press or anything like that, I think it's still, you're doing the movement. That's what's most important. The only thing I would try to do is the assisted exercise that I think is probably most mandatory is pull-ups. Doesn't mean you should do them all the time or have to do them all the time, but to be able to have that ability assures you that you have some good relative body strength and your body fat isn't too high. So there you go. Let's see here. All jokes aside, heavyweight, the gym put a good seat on. All right, you're good to go. Very good. Alan says, hey, Jim, what are your favorite push, pull, single leg, and core accessories? The push, I don't think matters. I think any kind of dumbbell or barbell pushing is, so overhead press we use as assistance work, and any incline, flat, or floor press works. Dips and push-ups I think are awesome too. Whether or not you do them with body weight, I think it's important you do that. And if you can load them, I also think that's important. Our pull exercises are obviously chin-ups and pull-ups from a variety of different grips. If you can do ropes and towels, I think that's super important. Obviously, barbell curls are in there. You can obviously use dumbbell curls in any kind of row, whether that's with dumbbells, barbell, or a machine. The single leg, or we call lower body, we use any kind of kettlebell, dumbbell cleans, dumbbell squats, any of the great normal single leg stuff, lunges, Bulgarian squats, step ups we use, I think are all awesome. And the core accessories, again, this depends on what you need. But if I was going to pick a couple, it would be any kind of 45-degree back raise, whether that's body weight or loaded, and ab wheel and leg raises, I think are amazing too. I'm a big fan of all those things, so those are my favorites. Chuck says, hey Jen, for deload weeks, do you recommend deloading with assistance work along with the main sets, or should I go in all out? Depends on how you feel. If you feel pretty good, you can go ahead and just deload the main lifts and you can still push the assistance hard, but if you're feeling really beat up, you can just back off the assistance and maybe choose different assistance work that's not that stressful. So for example, instead of doing dips, push-ups, or dumbbell press, you can just do tricep push-downs. Instead of doing rows, you can just do face pulls. So you can either lessen the volume or change the exercises. Sub-Zero says, hey, have you tried the old Buds training program, The Warning Order, from the 90s? It's all push-ups, dips, pull-ups, and sit-ups. Great stuff. Never even heard of that. I will write that down. The Warning Order. The one thing I've learned, Sub-Zero, is I have so many injuries and so beat up that I have to be very careful about doing just very careful on some of that stuff. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have been fine, but I just got to be smart about that. So I've never heard of that. Mark says, did you ever bench 500 raw? The best I ever did was 475 for a triple, and I also did 470 for a 3 off pins. I should have just benched 500 that day, but no. And we also did a raw bench press back in the day. So I figure I probably could have done it. I did a 585 two board, so I'm sure I could have wiggled it out there. So anyway, all right, I got to get going here. It's 11:17. Anyway, I appreciate everyone stopping by. I apologize if it was kind of buffering. I got some warnings here, so all right, here we go. I'll answer one more here. Struggling to get that first pull-up, dropping body weight, and have been doing inverted rows and assisted pull-up machines and decreasing the assistance. Is there anything else I could be doing? Yes, increase your total body strength. Number one, so just regular stuff. Getting your body fat to at least, at the very most 15%. And then we do a ton, 3 days a week of doing assistance pull-ups with the band. I think that's the best way to get your pull-ups up, but just getting overall stronger and using the band and just becoming an absolute dude with your food. Chuck says, do you have a favorite old school lifter? Not really. I didn't really grow up in that, using them as it was all football players for me. I didn't really know anyone. I mean, I like Ed Cohn quite a bit. I've met Ed Cohn and I've become very good friends with Ed, but it's more of a friend, if that makes sense. All my heroes growing up were football players, all of them. Do you have any recommendations for a heart rate monitor? I bought a $40 watch from Walmart. It works like shit. Listen, I don't heavyweight because I just have the handles on the treadmill. That's the only thing I use. I think my wife has what does Mama have? What does Big Mama have?
An Apple Watch.
She has an Apple Watch that she uses, but I don't have any experience with that stuff. I just use the heart rate monitor. What's that?
I'll show you.
No, it's all right. I know everyone knows what that shit is. So, anyway, I don't have, what are the one things we used in college? The ones that go around your, oh my God, I wish I could figure out, whatever. The strap that went around here, and I think you had a watch on or something. I'm sure those things are probably very much antiquated. So, I don't know. I apologize, heavyweight, but just find, I'm sure you guys could drop a couple interest here. Polar watch, very good. There we go. Paul Vickers says he had a Polar watch before. It's very good. So Frank says heavyweight wrist stuff doesn't work with weights. Get a monitor for the chest. Okay, there we go. It had a strap. There we go. I think it was Polar. I don't know. It's like a red logo on there. I don't know. Hey, heavyweight, just make sure it doesn't interrupt your sports bra, bro. All right, we got to get out of here. I got stuff to do. I got James to beat up. You ready for your beating, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Thursday beatings at the Wendler's house. All right, love you guys. As always, do something dumb this weekend if you can for conditioning. Push your brain and body. Don't get hurt, but be miserable for me. I appreciate it. Love you guys. Thank you for all that asked questions. I really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.